What is up? Happy Friday. Welcome into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Jared Smith. Oh, I'm a little off center right now. Why don't I just shift my way on over here? How are you, Jared? Happy Friday. How you doing?
Okay. Another loss last night for me against you. Congratulations.
The Titans. No swag this time. No swag.
No, God, no. I'm so done with the swag. I am swagged out. You have stolen my swag. It is gone. It is depleted. Just like the Packers season. And I'm sure you have things to say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't even get me started. We're going to break that down. We have Thursday Night Football Reactions, NFL with Benjamin Brown. He's coming on the show. Early season college basketball talk, Jared. I need you to update me on everything that is college basketball so far this season. College football, week 12 plays, and then our Pickswise 3-star play of the day and our best bets of the day. So without further ado, my friends, let's get right into it. Let's bet it. Thursday Night Football Reactions. Don't even get me started on the Packers right now because they are done. Their season is over. They're through. They're a fluke, and there's no reason they should have been favored by 3 points at home. I mean, the Titans defense held the Packers to 2.9 yards per rush and also shut down Aaron Rodgers in the pass game. Allen Lazard had 11 targets, only 5 catches. Derrick Henry had a passing touchdown because why not? Yeah. Why doesn't Derrick Henry just do it all? Unfortunately, he didn't hit my prop of 99.5 yards. I think a lot of that had to do with Ryan Tannehill's pick towards the end of the game, or else Derrick Henry would have just continually. I mean, why are they not just running the ball when it's 3rd and 1?
I have no idea.
Give the ball to Derrick Henry. But your thoughts on the Packers, because I thought they were a fluke since week 3. Everyone was on them this week. Bye. We're done. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the first half and then into the third quarter, and then once our under got swashed out, I kind of tuned out because the game was kind of over. It was a 2-score game in the fourth quarter. I actually had a very nice, my sister's in town in Vegas this week. I actually had a very nice dinner last night at her with Smith and Walensky. So I kind of dipped out on the last 10, 15 minutes of the game.
Which is okay.
Kind of decided already. And our bet was already a loser, unfortunately. But I think when you look at that game, when I look at the box score as a whole, I think what stands out to me is how great the Titans defense played, how great they've been against the run. I'll be honest, that was kind of predictable. I've got the number 1 rush DVOA team in the NFL this year at top of my board right now, my nerd numbers. So I don't think it's one of those things that's like, oh my God, the Titans went into Lambeau and stopped the run. They've been doing that all year. So that's tip of the cap. Mike Vrabel continues to be the underdog extraordinaire. And that, I'll be honest, that was the one thing last night after I really looked at the game and it moved to 3.5. I was like, shit, Vrabel is a dog. He's a dog.
He's so good.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they excel in that role, and we'll see how much longer they'll be in that role because now they're in a position in their standing to where they're probably going to be favored in a lot of games down the stretch. So I think the Titans are a very dangerous team because they're very well coached and they're tough as nails. And in this time of year with the snow and the wind and the cold and the conditions and the just the attrition that is the NFL, teams that are tough and well coached, maybe they're not the most talented team with the most talented quarterback and the most talented group of wide receivers, which I know is what we look at as success in the NFL, Mahomes and Josh Allen. Well, they're they win games, and wins matter. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Titans, they're tough. They're going to be a tough out. I don't want to face them in January. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. They're 7-3, 2.5 games up right now in the AFC South, pending, what happens this weekend. But this division at this point feels like it's been decided. The Vikings are the only team in the NFL with a bigger cushion in their division, and the next closest team is the Green Bay Packers, which we saw what they were capable of doing last night. So it's going to be interesting to see how, the AFC South plays out. But at this point, I feel like the Titans kind of have it wrapped up, and Mike Vrabel doing what Mike Vrabel does, and that's coaching his ass off. And he did that against the Green Bay Packers. One of my favorite parts was I think it was D lineman went down when Aaron Rodgers was on the field. And there was something going on with the flag, and then Vrabel came out and he's like, "Oh, my ankle." And it was just a funny situation. And Aaron Rodgers went up to Mike Vrabel. They were chit-chatting a little bit, but yeah, some good storylines from that game. I know we're going to bring in Benjamin Brown in a little bit, but before that, let's get into some college basketball right now. I haven't really been keeping a lot of track of college basketball, so I need you to catch me up, catch all of our Pickswise audience up. Who right now is looking like the best team early in the college basketball season?
Basically, the entire state of Texas. It's pretty
Love
remarkable,
that.
actually. Houston and Baylor were the two picks that we gave out. I mean, they've been on my betting spreadsheet since April.
Yeah.
But officially, we made them public on this show about a week or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
And those two teams have continued to just blow people out. We'll get to Baylor a little bit.
Yeah.
They've got a very fun game tonight against Virginia. The other team that, in my opinion, has really exceeded expectations through the first week or so is Texas. And, I was on Gonzaga the other night. My mistake was not giving the Longhorn crowd enough credit, and also Texas's offense, which looks a little bit punchier than in prior years. The MO on Texas for the last few years, especially recently with Chris Beard, uberly talented, long, strong, athletic, not very gifted offensively. Not a lot of knockdown shooters and a lot of guys that can create off the dribble. Well, they're a little bit different this year. And I think this Texas team, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't want to say they're the number one team in the country right now, but Ken Palm's got them number one. So I think it's right now, Ken Palm's rankings, Texas, Kentucky, Houston, Gonzaga, Baylor. 3 teams from the state of Texas in the top 5. I think Gonzaga may be a little bit worse than we thought. I don't think they're as tough and as offensively gifted. I watched that entire Texas-Gonzaga game. Gonzaga had absolutely no answer for Texas running high ball screens and picking pops, and they were making every 3, and that certainly helped you make your 3s. But this Texas team with Tyrese Hunter, the transfer, and Timmy Allen, who's been on the team forever, a senior, Marcus Carr, another senior. I mean, they've got senior talent in the backcourt that can knock down shots, and they got this. This Tyrese Hunter kid's an absolute rock star, the transfer from Iowa State. So they are very, very, very dangerous. I think Houston and Baylor are also very, very dangerous. And I think outside of those 4 teams, maybe throw Kentucky in the mix. We'll see what Oscar Tshiebwe's status is coming off the knee injury. He got his knee scoped over the summer. To me, that would be my final 4 today if I had to pick it. Obviously, we don't know what the brackets look like, and there's so many other things to work out. But I think those are the best 4 teams in the country: Texas, Gonzaga, Houston, and Baylor at this very, very early stage.
Yeah, speaking of Gonzaga, they have a really big game coming up on Sunday against Kentucky, but they did just lose to an unranked Michigan State team in the Champions Classic. What do you make of that?
Michigan State's not going to be unranked for much longer. They're a very solid team. Top 20 in defensive adjusted efficiency. Matty Sissoko, the junior big, is starting to really assert himself. This is a kid that last year didn't play a ton and now really bursting into the starting lineup. And also they're arguably the most well-coached team in the country. I know you're not too fond of Michigan State, but they are a very well-coached team.
I like Izzo.
He's very, very well-coached team. I think Michigan State's going to be there. I think the SEC has a couple of intriguing teams. I think Auburn is intriguing. I think Alabama is intriguing. Those teams are off to good starts. Auburn looks like they're just the run and gun. Like Bruce Pearl is another really fun coach who runs a very fun style. They've got a very talented backcourt. If you recall, their little guard, 5'11", Wendell Green's off to a really good start. He's a top 10 kind of player. I mean, if you're going to ask me who the best players in the country are, I think Edie from Purdue. I mean, it's like the year of the bigs is what they're saying. Edie from
Yeah.
Purdue is a rock star, the big dude. And then Timmy and Gonzaga, I think those are like the two best players. And then Penn State actually is off to a pretty decent start, too. They had a nice win yesterday over Furman. They've got a kid, Jalen Pickett, who is, I think, going to be one of the better players in the country when it's all said and done. Marcus Sasser from Houston. I mentioned Tyrese Hunter, the transfer from Iowa State that's at Texas now. And then Wendell Green, the Auburn guard, is another, really, really one of the better players in the country, probably going to be a Naismith finalist if Auburn has a really good year. So I think there's a lot of really good big men, but, the guards are always fun to watch. And that's where the scoring really originates. So we'll see. It's very early in the year, and you'll see when I make my bets. A lot of it is pure numbers. There's a couple of rating systems that do very well, KenPom being one of them. There's a couple of other ones that do very well with tracking final scores and ratings. At this stage of the year, I don't have time to watch all these teams. I'm purely basing a lot of bets on numbers, and you'll hear that later today when we get into the Baylor UVA game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of moves going forward. And that's a little teaser on what is going to be your play of the day. And I'm taking it to the ice for mine. Let's go from college basketball to college football because week 12 is upon us. And it's not like the best slate of games, but there are quite a few decent games to be bet on here. One of them I'm looking at is TCU taking on Baylor. TCU proved to me that they can play defense, especially last week against Texas, going into Texas, being a 7-point road dog and dominated. And they know now that they cannot lose a game. How do you feel like this game plays out against Baylor, Jared? Because Baylor, I know they have the best defense in the Big 12, but they've been kind of inconsistent all season.
Very inconsistent. I think Dave Aranda is a really good coach. And I think the Pete Kwiatkowski and Gary Patterson, the Texas defensive coordinator and special assistant, I think they laid out a pretty good game plan for how to stop the air raid. And TCU's air raid is not your typical air raid. They run it a lot more than most. And they run 4 wide sets too. 10 personnel is what it's called. And most air raids are 5 wide. It's just they spread it out. So this is not your normal air raid offense. And Sonny Dykes is a unique, he's got his own unique style. But I do think Dave Aranda specializes in slowing down run and gun offenses. So I think this number is telling me that Baylor is very, very live in this game. And I know the number last week told me Texas was the right side, and they weren't. But I've said this on like every show and every segment I've done this week when they've asked me about this game. If you were going to ask me, okay, Jared, you're on Texas, and I can give you a glimpse into a future, just the one snapshot with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, TCU is only going to have 3 points. How do you feel about your Texas -7 bet? I mean, oh my God. Can I put more on the game? Can I rewind and add? So I don't want to crown TCU as this amazing, as this unbelievable win on the road at Texas. They had 3 points midway through the third quarter. That's how bad Texas's offense was in that game. Quinn Ewers was really bad. And sure, give a lot of credit to TCU's defense. They absolutely deserve the credit. But the one thing I didn't like this week from Sonny Dykes is he came out and he complained about TCU's schedule and the specifics of it being how many games they've had to play in a row. So they haven't had their bye week since September 17th. They've literally had to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9 consecutive weeks. 3 or 4 of those games on the road, 4 of them against ranked opponents. So they've had a gauntlet of difficult games. And I don't believe that they're going to go undefeated. They're not, I don't get that vibe. Maybe they're a team of destiny and I'm wrong and I'll wear it, but I think I'm picking Baylor here. I think I'm taking them outright. I think Baylor pulls it off. We all thought it was going to be Texas last week that
Wow.
won the game, and I think
Wow.
Baylor gets it done this week. I don't know.
Okay, we're
I'll go
betting
with my
against each
gut.
other here. I'm taking TCU
Always.
laying
What
two
else
and a
is new?
half in this spot. I know. I just feel like they know that they cannot lose a game now because people are like waiting for them. They're wanting them to lose a game. And Baylor's inconsistency, like I feel like TCU has been the more consistent team throughout the entire season. That's why they are undefeated at this point. That's why they're number 4 in the AP football poll. Baylor's inconsistency
Everything says
worries me a little bit.
TCU.
I feel like what?
I mean, it's easy, right? TCU by 3. They're begging you to take
Yeah,
the
here's the
Horned
thing
Frog
for
this
me
week.
is the home loss to K-State when Adrian Martinez went down early in the first quarter was really bad last week. Really bad. And I
They
don't
looked
think it gives me
awful.
a lot of confidence in Baylor going into this week. And 2.5 is not that much. I could see this being a really close game. I could see TCU winning by a field goal and me covering the spread. But at that point, I just feel like it comes down to mentality at a certain point. Like TCU knows they've been the underdog all season long. People want them to lose. They're waiting for them to lose. And I just feel like they're going to come into this game and want to crush. I mean, 2 weeks left, right? That's it. They want to go 12-0. They want to make it happen. I think that they're going to be able to do that in Baylor. And now the market has them right a little bit. They're 2.5-point favorites going on the road rather than being a 7-point road dog last
Yeah,
week, which
different
is
animal
really
though
interesting.
at Texas or at Baylor. I mean, like, Baylor's power rated considerably lower than Texas,
Mm-hmm.
especially after the
Mm-hmm.
loss last week. I
Yeah.
think, listen, this, by the way, it moved to 2 at Westgate. So there is
Wow.
sharp money coming in on
Coming in
Baylor
on
this week.
Baylor.
This line opened
Mm-hmm.
3 and it didn't immediately move off of 3. So listen, this isn't a new thing for you to fade the sharps. You like doing that. And we'll see. The sharps have been against TCU considerably for the last few weeks, myself included. And I am not just because the bad result last week. I felt like TCU didn't really play that well, other than up front
Mm-hmm.
defensively. They didn't really move the ball that much. I think Max Duggan was a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what Dave Aranda comes up with against this TCU air raid. The one
Yeah.
thing that I'll add to, and this is, maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. Who freaking knows? No one knows. No one knows shit with these games, anyways. But TCU on the road in the early window has been a bit of a struggle. At Kansas, they gave up 31. At West Virginia, they gave up 31. At SMU, they gave up 34. And all of those games had one thing in common. They all started at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. This game being played in Waco will be in the Central
Mm.
time zone. 11 a.m. start time. Does TCU get up for this game like they got up for Texas last week at night in Austin in front of 1 million people? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. We are moving on though to week 11 of the NFL football season. Let's bring in Ben Brown to talk NFL and everything that we've seen so far through 10 weeks. You can find him at PFF_Ben Brown. He's the betting and data analyst for PFF. What's up, Ben? How are you? Happy Friday.
An
Oh, he's
interesting first 10 weeks of
muted.
the season.
Oh,
Oh
no, we hear
no.
you now. We hear you. What's up? Sorry, you were muted like that for like
What's
10
up?
seconds.
Mute, unmute, it's all good. No, I appreciate you guys having me both on, Lauren, Jared. Definitely a pleasure. I check out your your guys' podcast here, once in a while, and I definitely, I appreciate anybody that can kind of, run the gamut of different sports, because it's definitely a skill from a betting perspective that I don't have whatsoever. So I appreciate the grind of being able to do, college basketball, college football, NFL, all the way through. I think is very impressive. So I appreciate you
Hey,
guys having me
thanks.
I
on
don't
for sure.
sleep, Ben. I don't
Yeah,
sleep.
that's
I
got to be
stare
it,
at this
right?
freaking screen all day and I just slave over the numbers. But we love the
Right.
numbers, and that's what you excel in, and that's why I'm excited to get your thoughts today, bud.
Yeah, and we're diving into the sport you know the best. Let's talk about NFL. 10 weeks in, we've seen one game now for week 11. Before we get into Thursday Night Football from last night, I want to talk about the Dolphins because Tua Tagovailoa has been phenomenal. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, like unreal together on that offense. Should the Dolphins be the favorite at this point to win the AFC East?
So I don't know if I would say that they should be the favorite, but I do think they are, probably the best bet to make at their current price if you're looking to
Mm-hmm.
make, any action in the division market, right? I think at plus 250, at various spots, they do have somewhat of a difficult, remaining schedule, but I think, with all the talk of the league wide passing, quarterback play, all these things kind of being down and maybe not, influencing the outcome of games as much as they have in years past. I actually think it's a spot where you can maybe, buy into the smaller subset of teams that have actually been able to do it, and nobody's been better than at, passing the football than the Miami Dolphins through the first 10 weeks of the season. Tua's, our highest graded passing quarterback, Jalen. And Tyreek Hill combined, the best wide receiver duo in the NFL from PFF's receiving grade perspective. So I think, at plus 250, they are, very much live in the division markets, but I also think they are, kind of an intriguing, underdog spot to get out of the AFC conference and maybe even win the Super Bowl right now, just based on kind of what we've seen with them through the first 10 weeks of the season.
And first of all, you and I need to talk more about the amazing work you guys do on PFF. I'm on your website constantly. I am a premium subscriber. It is a fantastic website. I derive a ton of my stats and my data and my nerd numbers. Everyone loves the nerd numbers here on the show,
Right.
but I derive a lot of it from what you guys do. And I'm curious your thoughts on this very polarizing team and this very polarizing line this week. The Cowboys as a road favorite against the Minnesota Vikings. Based on the eye test we saw last week, why is this line Minnesota plus 1.5? They just beat the Bills on the road, and the Cowboys just coughed up a 2-score lead to the shitty Packers. Well, if we look closer in that game a little bit, Dallas dominated for 3 quarters, just flat out dominated, especially offensively. And Minnesota needed a Josh Allen red zone pick, a Josh Allen red zone fumble in order to come back in that game. Are we putting the cart before the horse, thinking that the 8-1 record for Minnesota is deserving of them being a favorite in this game, or do the numbers say Dallas is the better team?
Yeah, so and I need to put a little bit of, full disclosure or something here. So I am from Minnesota, and I would say, derive my fandom from the Vikings. So, but that's also like a little bit of shifting sand, right? Because I think for the past, 30 years or whatever, I've experienced so much abuse that it's made me probably more pessimistic long term about their outlook as well. So, but I honestly think. I think Dallas is the better team overall in the NFC. I think we're probably going to see that play out on Sunday. You mentioned like kind of the fluky nature in which the Vikings have kind of won some of these football games. And it's not just with Buffalo, right? I think that, they got the game against Arizona. I thought the Cardinals were very much kind of, live dogs in that matchup, with the Vikings at home. There's like a punt muff fumble that the Vikings pick up and score like the very next play that kind of shifted the game in that one as well. And they've kind of continued to at least find some of these big plays, especially in turnover situations, that have definitely broken their way so far. So I get the resentment a little bit from the Vikings side of things. And I think that when you look at it from, PFF's perspective, like, they're not a very good secondary, right? Even with Patrick Peterson's and the gaudy interception numbers and everything else, they still rank 22nd, in coverage grade, have very much relied on some of these high variance type turnover situations. And I think if you're looking at it from, the injury perspective, Christian Darrisaw does seem like he's trending in the right direction, but without him in the lineup, that would be, I would say, pretty much a certifiable disaster for the Vikings. Yeah. To face off against Micah Parsons. So I think like I actually have bet the Cowboys a little bit in this matchup on a look ahead line, but I'm not really going to lock in anything further until I know that specific injury situation. But I do think, Dallas, like you said, the Dak, I would say a couple things, especially before the first half last week, kind of swung the tide for them. But I think overall they are, very much in the same class as the Vikings and the Eagles as far as potentially winning the NFC. So I kind of agree with the betting market right now. And I do think that the Cowboys are probably going to showcase why they should be, in that top tier of teams here on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, I feel like, and I told Jared earlier this week, are just due for like that loss. You know what I mean? They haven't had that loss yet this season. Every team has that loss. That was the Cowboys last week against the Packers. That was that loss for them. And I think that they're going to be extremely hungry coming out this week, just mentality-wise, not even numbers-wise, mentality-wise. And the Vikings, they need that one loss But we'll see what happens. I'm also a Lions fan too, so we're NFC North rivals here, unfortunately. But we did have 2-game win streak going, I will say.
You said sorry. That's my favorite thing uttered on this show today. Sorry, you're a Lions fan, Lauren. I apologize.
It's been a rough
life. I associate with too many Lions fans, I would say, at this point in my life. So all I heard in the offseason was the optimistic outlook for how they were gonna, overperform expectation or whatever. And so I feel bad because, a lot of people got their hopes up, and it hasn't happened yet. It might happen now here. I don't know for sure, but I would say that the talent, I guess.
Lions outright this week against the Giants, right?
That's the lock. I do think that is.
Fun fact is I bet the Lions money line every single week. I don't encourage other people to do it. I just do it just because I want to, But if you did that for the Eagles every game this season, you'd be up a lot of money right now. And I want to talk about their one weakness, which is their run defense. And their GM went out this week and is like, I'm going to take care of this. Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh signed both of them this week. I feel like they can help their run defense almost immediately. Does that make the Eagles that much stronger of a team? Because obviously after they lost to the Commanders this week, they're like, oh shit, we need to figure this out.
Yeah, I do think that is definitely like a weakness for them, and I do think that they kind of realized it even during the draft time, getting Jordan Davis and everything else. But I think long term, the way in which the Eagles are potentially going to lose is if they're not kind of allowed to play almost this like bully ball type mentality where they have the best offensive line, they're dominating in the trenches and winning football games playing from ahead, right? I think the recipe for how they're going to lose is kind of what we saw last week against Washington, where they get behind early and then kind of struggle to move the football efficiently, especially rushing the football, but also through passing and everything else. So I think the question, even if they have some of these big bodies in the middle that could definitely stop the run game right away, is like, can they still come from behind and win a game with Jalen Hurts forced to throw the football? And I think against a quality team that very much matches up well against them, I don't know if Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, especially given their age and everything else, are really going to move the needle in that perspective, in that particular facet. And I do think that's the area that I'm still concerned with the Eagles. So I like the move because I think the Eagles have shown they're very much all in and very much trying to get the championship now with Jalen Hurts on that rookie deal. And I definitely respect that idea, and I definitely think that is the best team building approach. But I think I would have I don't know what I would have done exactly from the Eagles perspective, but I don't know if it's going to be as impactful as I think what people are currently projecting it to be.
One game that I think is incredibly impactful this week is the Chiefs and the Chargers. It's been one of the more intriguing rivalries in the league since Mahomes and Herbert have kind of dueled it out these last 3 seasons. Herbert's actually gotten the better of it against the spread, but obviously Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have had a little bit more success in the win-loss column. Seeing this line shrink this week, total increases. I'm assuming that's receiver-based, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen back, and I think the Chargers will keep this one close. I got them at 6.5. It's down to 5.5 now. I still think it maybe has a little bit of value. Where do you stand on this AFC West rivalry this week?
Yeah, I do think the injury situation, like you said, definitely breaking correctly for the Chargers. It seems like, the Chiefs might have, Kadarius Toney as their number 1 wide receiver option, which, he did flash, I would say, a little bit last week, but that's still going to be, really concerning for any team, I would say, right now, to have to rely heavily on him to run, 90% of the routes, per drop back for Patrick Mahomes. So I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of the line movement, but I don't know. I think this game, any Chargers game is complete chaos. I do think that if you're betting something pregame, the Chargers are definitely the correct side, but I also think the Chargers are probably going to start off pretty hot, and then the Chiefs might be, a little bit of a buying opportunity in game, especially if they get down by, over a touchdown or something like that. That's kind of how I'm approaching this match, but I don't have too much on it right now. But I think, something like Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns is something that I seem to bet pretty blindly every single week. So at a plus price, I think that would be my main spot before getting on any in-game action here for this matchup.
Last but not least, Ben Brown, before we let you go, Week 11 is upon us. We saw the Packers get crushed last night by the Titans, which Everyone was like so excited about the Packers after they beat the Cowboys, and it's like they're not that good, guys. Let's all like just take a breath, settle down for a second. The Titans have a 2.5-game lead now in their division, but looking at Week 11, the rest of the games left. Who are you on? What bets do you feel really, really good about? Or are you kind of like staying away from this week?
Yeah, I actually do, and I've been riding this team every week actually too, but I do like the Bengals -3.5. I think that one's a spot where people are probably overemphasizing that first matchup where the Steelers won outright in overtime as pretty heavy dogs on the road. I think the Bengals kind of coming off their bye, even without Jamar Chase. I know they have some holes in their secondary as well, but I think this is a spot where they show and people kind of start talking about them at least somewhat in that AFC, secondary tier for teams that could potentially upset, a team like the Bills or the Chiefs like they did last year. So I like the Bengals -3.5. I also don't mind the over in that game as well. I think that the defensive narrative, especially for the Steelers, is a little bit overstated. I do know they have TJ Watt back, but I don't really think he's going to matter a whole lot in this particular matchup. So over 40.5, I like that one as well. And then, if Christian Darrisaw plays, I do like the over 48.5 a lot in the Vikings-Cowboys games. Like I said, the Vikings secondary, very big play dependent, but that can kind of swing both ways. If they don't get some of those high variance type interceptions, I think Dak Prescott's going to have a field day. And, Kirk Cousins in comeback mode is either going to go really good or really bad, but either way, I think it's going to end up with points being scored. So I like the over 48.5 in that one as well. Then I guess I'll give one more out for those who are, really like to sweat games out. But I think Zach Wilson under 0.5 passing touchdowns +160. We know Bill Belichick obviously has had very good success against Zach Wilson so far. I think they're going to be featuring the running game quite a bit. So it's a spot of him playing, in certain situations. It's gone, I would say, fairly well, just given, the current state of quarterback play and passing and everything in general. So under 0.5 passing touchdowns is it's going to be a sweat, but it might be an enjoyable sweat to the end. So Zach Wilson, that one's for probably just like the sickos of the group. I don't know if anyone really wants to get into that or not, but that's one of my my early player prop actions.
Jared likes that one.
Ain't that right, Jared? One, I think.
Don't mind it. Get after it. I like it.
Big fan. Ben, we're so appreciative of you coming on the show. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great Friday. Best of luck with your bets this week, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys. I can't wait to tail some of these college basketball plays as well, so I appreciate the sweats on Friday night.
Be careful what you wish for, bud. I'm in the very early stages of this little rating system I'm compiling, and as you know, we need more data points before I can actually feel confident. But I do think Baylor might be a good look tonight. We'll get into that in a few.
I'm sending on that. Yeah. If you need any help with anything, definitely let me know with anything. I definitely appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we'll be in touch, my friend.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you. That was Ben Brown. You can find him on Twitter at PFF_Ben Brown. He's in charge of betting and data for PFF. Great work. All right, before we get into our best bets and everything, Jared, we still haven't gone over your college football slate that I know you're going to be talking about tomorrow morning. Who do you like for Week 12 of CFB?
Baylor. Money line.
Baylor.
Give it to me, baby.
Wow.
Also,
that's the one game that we're on. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't mess around at this time of year, Jabara. No. I'll be honest. This is not like, oh my God, shove all your chips into the middle on Baylor kind of play for me. This is, and we discussed this on Pickswise Playbook. By the way, go watch Pickswise Playbook this week. Not only is Lauren Jabara an absolutely dynamic host with talent for days, but Tank Williams is.
Don't pump my tires that much.
I love you, girl. But Tank Williams is one of my favorite people on this planet right now, besides Lauren.
He's the best.
And the dynamic that we have on the show is really fun. It's informative. It's fast. It's energetic. It's lively. And there's some really good information in there. But one of the things we discussed this week, and it kind of pertains more to the Raiders-Broncos game for me than it does the TCU-Baylor game, but I think it applies. If you trust your handicap and it doesn't work out one week, but the game played out in such a random way that it didn't really work out in the way that you expected it to, go back to it the next week. First of all, you're probably getting a better number than you should if you lost previous week's bet. And secondly, if you trust your handicap, don't let one bad data point deter you from that vision. So I don't believe in this TCU team. I just don't. Their defense played out of their minds against Texas. That was like the Picasso performance for that defense. I don't know if they can replicate that. If they can, they're going to win this game. Period. End of story. If TCU's defense plays that well again, they are going to win this game by more than 3 points. But the numbers over their full season of work say that they are a defense that really struggles to stop the run. They are a defense that can be pushed around in the trenches, and they're a defense that gives up a lot of big plays on the ground. And that's the one thing Baylor can do. Their offensive line is strong. Blake Shapen shaky at quarterback, but they can move people up front. And that's where I think they can control the tempo in this game. And then on the other side, like we discussed, Dave Aranda, defensive-minded head coach, coming off of an embarrassing loss. It's like the buy low, sell high. You buy low on Baylor, you sell high on TCU. That's been my vibe with college football all season, and I ain't gonna stop with that strategy now just because TCU played one of the most absurd defensive performances of the season last week in Austin. So I think Utah State is another off-the-radar game that I like. Our pals over at Bet the Board, Todd Furman, gave that out on his podcast this week, and Brad Powers, a fantastic college football handicapper, is a big fan of Utah State this week against San Jose State. San Jose State's had a rough few weeks. They had the terrible tragedy of one of their players, dying in a scooter accident. And then they canceled postponed one of their games. They came back. They barely got by Nevada and Colorado State, and then they got their doors ripped off by San Diego State on Saturday. And Utah State is, at this time of year, guys, if you have 5 wins and you're waiting to get that 6th, there is a little bit of a manual adjustment that needs to be made for teams that are motivated, trying to get bowl eligible. And Utah State right now sitting on 5 wins, trying to get that 6th win. So I think the line flipped. I think actually Utah State's a favorite now. I bet it earlier in the week, money line as a slight underdog, but I still would make that bet this week. So those are the only 2 college football bets I have locked in right now: Utah State and Baylor, and that's it. Good luck.
Okay. Best of luck, you guys. Before we get into our best bets of today, let's bet it. Presented by Superbook Sports. It's the best place to bet football this season. Make sure to download the Superbook app or visit superbook.com right now. And they're going to match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins or whether it loses. Plus, they already have lines up for every NFL game for the rest of the season. It's the #1 voted sportsbook in Vegas, now available in the palm of your hand. Make sure to visit superbook.com to join. Now let's head to Pickswise.com. Gerard, 3-star play of the day. Who do we got today?
Nada, sadly.
Wow.
Not a whole lot of action
Friday.
today.
There's a lot going on tomorrow. A lot going on Sunday.
Yeah, we've got a whole slew of college football tomorrow. I won't even give you the games. There's so many of them. Literally every single handicapper that's given out a college football pick for Pickswise this year is chiming in on tomorrow. I see 6 3-star plays on the site for tomorrow. So
love to see it. Make sure to check them out. Yeah. You are high on Baylor this weekend. Please tell me, my friend, your play of the day. I'm like, do you want to apply and go there, or you can go here? Like, come on out.
I'm gonna need to buy. I'm doing the Baylor double this week. We're betting Baylor on tomorrow for college football, and we're betting Baylor tonight in college basketball. Well, we discussed it during. To be fair, very different Baylor basketball team than football team. I think Baylor basketball might be the best team in the country, maybe 1A, 1B, 1C with Houston and Texas, and I do really like this matchup tonight. We mentioned with the San Jose State Utah State game, just the terrible tragedy that the San Jose State team suffered a few weeks ago. I mean, that's exactly what Virginia is going through right now, and it's unspeakable. I don't even really want to give it any more attention other than I feel for every single person involved, and obviously everyone on that campus. It's been a tough week. They did cancel one of their games earlier this week, and they haven't played in a week, and now they have to travel to Vegas. They're in town tonight I was playing craps with them at the table, so I'm just kidding. I wasn't. But they have to travel to Vegas, play a neutral site game against Baylor, who is just crushing opponents right now. They've won all 3 of their games by double digits. They beat Northern Colorado the other night by 33. They scored 117 on opening night against Mississippi Valley State. And I'm not saying those opponents are like world beaters, but Virginia's played North Carolina Central and Monmouth. Now, they have played well in those 2 games. I think they covered Monmouth, didn't cover NC Central. And I think Virginia's numbers are a little bit ahead of their skis right now in terms of their offensive efficiency. This is not a team that's known for its offensive efficiency. They're much more a defensive-minded team. I think Baylor's going to get up and down and run and gun tonight. I love this freshman, Keontae George. Keep a very, very close eye on him. LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler. I mean, this is one of the best backcourts in America. They're deep. They're talented. And at 4.5, one of my rating systems has this game at 12. The other one has it at 7.5. So I feel like at 4.5, beneath that key number of 5, and in college basketball and basketball in general, 5 is kind of a key number. And I think that's where I feel comfortable playing this up to. And we saw this move past 5 to 5.5, and then we saw the buyback towards 4.5. So I think we're getting it at a decent spot right now. My guess is this closes at 5 or higher. Just a hunch. But I'll take Baylor tonight. I'll lay it with the Bears in Vegas against.
Get this guy an application. He wants to go to Baylor. He's all about it at this point.
I'm not about Waco.
Doesn't even go
I've been
here,
to Waco
boys.
before. Not much going on there. Not much going on there besides Baylor.
Baylor Bears. He's a bear. He's a bear at heart.
Sick 'em.
I'm taking my best bet to the ice. I have the Kings taking on the Canucks, and it's the only hockey game in the NHL going on tonight. So I'm like, why not? What the hell? Let's bet it. I like the Kings puck line, and it's very interesting because money line they're favored, but puck line they're getting a half a goal. So it's plus a half goal at -112, which is really interesting to me. But the Kings have won 5 of their last 6 games. They're 11-7-1 on the season. The Canucks, the past few seasons, have had the Kings number. The Kings have lost straight trips to Vancouver. They're 1-7 in their last 8 overall meetings with them. And you're like, Lauren, why the heck are you beating LA? Or betting LA. Something to note, the favorite has been profitable in the last 7 games in this series. And the Kings still need to prove themselves on the road. The Canucks not really playing very well this season. And I'm getting the cheaper price here with a team that's playing way better hockey. The Canucks 5-9-3 on the season, not playing great. LA also has a better defensive core that I trust a lot more. And the Canucks have been a sieve all season long. They've allowed 69 total goals in 17 games. Thatcher Demko between the pipes has not been playing great. He's 1-8-2 on the season. 1 win, 8 losses, 2 overtime losses, 4.02 goals against average, 874 save percentage. And the Kings offensively are rolling right now. They've scored 63 goals so far in the season. I don't anticipate that stopping. And they're getting a half goal. I mean, it's crazy. If that flips and they're laying a half goal, I'd feel comfortable with that too. Basically, like them, getting a money line favorite at this point. But it's just like really interesting that they're getting a half goal here. But I would, like, my initial bet was Kings money line. I think I could get that at -115. Depends on what book you're looking at. But I mean, it's a short favorite in this game, and they're playing way better hockey. So I think they're going to go up to Vancouver and kind of prove them wrong. Give me the Kings money line or plus a half goal at -112, 115, depending on what sportsbook you're looking at. That's
what do you
it
want
for
me
today,
to write
boys,
in for the sheet?
ladies. What?
What do you want me to write in for the sheet? Kings plus a half goal?
Yeah, Kings plus a half. Let's do that.
-105.
Yeah,
what is it?
-112. I got you.
You got
Look at him updating the sheet as we're talking. Gosh, he's a good worker. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Lauren Jabara, Baylor Bear alum, Jared Smith. That's it for us. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's